Guillermo, Emil, I'm up to you. Hey, I'm going dry. Well, where's the music, you ask? Well, the Emil Guillermo Orchestra is, well, they're still there. I mean, I haven't like given them a pink sheet or anything like that, or a pink slip. I guess that, does anyone use that pink, these pink slip people and say, so long? No, but I like my music, and to prove to you that they're not gone. See, there they are. They're just, as they say in showbiz, taking a blow, but they're there. Hey, welcome. This is our show on the 5th, about the 4th. We're going to talk about the things on the 4th because they are like hanging over us. Although, there's some things that happened on the 5th today that are worth mentioning. I think, and I'm going to mention the the Asian American Vietnam vets, soldiers who won the Medal of Honor today. I mean, that's a big deal. That's because it's coming off the 5th, or coming off the 4th. On the 5th, they give two Asian Americans a Medal of Honor. I'll mention them because, and then you talk about what they did, and it's like, it just tells you what heroism is. It's self-sacrifice. It's putting others in front of you, before you, and serving your country. And so they were honored today. That was great. But we first turn to the events of the 4th. Everyone's talking about Highland Park. Man, I talked about Highland Park yesterday on yesterday's show, 337. We didn't get all the details. Now the details are coming out. And as they come out, everyone's wondering, could we have done something about it? And I think there probably could have been, if they thought about, I mean, if policing was about trying to prevent things from happening, but usually, they're looking for a crime occurring. They're looking for something solid because they've got other things on their mind. And that's not what policing's all about. I mean, the whole idea behind some kind of reform when it comes to policing was not to defund the police and, make the police less of a law enforcement fighting kind of thing, but it was to really kind of channel the right people to circumstances that could prevent something like what we saw at Highland Park yesterday at the 4th of July parade. So we're going to talk about that because that stuff is breaking right now. And then I just want to compare that with the situation in Akron. If you haven't been following the story in Akron about Jalen Walker and how he was shot to death by, there were like 8 cops who are now suspended or put on administrative leave in Akron, Ohio, because a week ago Monday, Jalen Walker was shot up, 60 bullet wounds, after a routine traffic stop. If you haven't heard that case, well, it happened, like I said, a week ago, Monday. But on Sunday, this past holiday weekend, the Akron police revealed the body cam footage, and there's going to be more body cam footage. And of course, there was a rally that probably no one saw on, get reported, or didn't get the wide kind of coverage, because Monday we had Highland Park. And so I think both are kind of worth talking about, because it shows that when you say gun violence in America, it means different things to different communities. When you say gun violence to Highland Park, which is based on the latest census about 90% white, I mean, there's no gun violence in Highland Park. There's a bunch of teenagers and, young adults who play Call of Duty and that kind of thing. But gun violence, no, it doesn't exist. It's not supposed to. That's the kind of image Highland Park has. But you talk about Akron, Ohio, which is, many, many times. Highland Park is like 29,000 people. Akron is like 180,000 people. Big city. Gun violence, the first kind of gun violence that exists in Highland Park, well, you might say, yeah, that exists or could exist in Akron, but more than likely, it's what happened to Jalen Walker. Unarmed, traffic stop, African American, 25 years old, 8 officers. That's how long it took. It was like a 7-minute pursuit. He actually drove off from the traffic stop. Then he got out and went on foot. The cops tased him. And then when that didn't work, they shot him. 60 gunshot wounds in Jalen Walker. And that's another kind of gun violence, but that's the real kind of gun violence for some communities. I'm talking maybe more specifically about the Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. That's their experience when it comes to gun violence. It's usually the good guys who are involved. And now we have 8 of those good guys, so-called good guys, on administrative leave. And there'll be more video coming out. We need to see how is Jalen Walker treated. Now, the chief of police of Akron said, Stephen Milet, reportedly has said there was nothing threatening to the officers. Okay. He also confirmed that Walker was unarmed. Okay. So why do we read that he's got 60 gunshot wounds and he's dead after a routine traffic stop? This is something to think about after the 4th of July when we celebrate our freedoms and this thing happens. Or it happened a week ago, Monday, but the body cam footage was released Sunday. And I think I saw about a 30-second clip of it on the Today Show today. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to get overshadowed by all this other news. And unless we keep shining a light on what did the Akron cops do to Jalen Walker, 6 months from now, a year from now, we'll be wondering, Jalen who? That's the gun experience for many members of the BIPOC community right now. Happened over the weekend, right? The release of the video, they had a little rally, but you may not have heard about it because of Highland Park. Now, Highland Park is a different situation, and I don't want to conflate. Well, I guess I just want to say, hey, look, all gun violence is gun violence, whether it's the good guys or the bad guys. There in Highland Park, they got the so-called bad guy, the suspect. They haven't released exactly what the charges will be, but Bobby Cremo 21. His birthday's in September, so he's still 21. He was staying with his uncle, Paul Cremo, and he was on television saying, I saw nothing. I didn't think anything. You look normal. Yeah, that Bobby was staying with his uncle Paul in an adjacent town. But we learned also today that Bobby Cremo had 2 incidents with the police in 2018 and 2019 when they were called because he was acting suicidal. One, he had threatened some people with, he had weapons, swords, that kind of thing. Cops didn't do anything. And a lot of that is because they're limited. They're cops. And this is when, like I said, when people were talking about rethinking the police, what if there was a detail within the police department where they could have gone and taken a note about what was going on with Bobby Cremo and followed him and kept him on the radar? Because they lost him. You know, he's has all this social media out that talks about really nefarious things, scary things that involve violence. I heard a criminologist say today that, well, no one saw it. So if people who saw it didn't alert people, then did it happen? I guess that's an interesting twist on if a tree falls in the woods, right? But it comes back to bite you because you see all these signs that suggest something was wrong with Bobby Cremo, especially when he planned something. It looks like police are saying this was planned over time. Bobby Cremo put on a dress, which I guess makes him a kind of Some Like It Hot or Tootsie kind of, using the disguise. Or actually, Shakespeare had actors wear dresses, so maybe it was that kind of thing. But he did it, and it hid his facial tattoos, which, frankly, to me is another sign of something, not just a sign of free expression, but a sign that, well, maybe we ought to pay attention. Anyway, Bobby Cremo put on a dress on July 4th to hide his facial tattoos, went up in a fire escape to the rooftop of a building, and that's where he set up shop as a sniper. And then, in the words of the police, he was it purposely random? They were talking about the conflict because clearly they showed he had some kind of purpose and intent. He went up went up a fire escape, but his shots were randomized. His targets were random. So he wasn't going after Jewish Americans, although Jews were victims. He wasn't going after Mexican immigrants, although there was a Mexican national, 78-year-old, Mr. Toledo, who was shot. Sad story, because he didn't want to go. I mean, he was confined to a wheelchair, and they had to set up the wheelchair. The family wanted to go. They insisted that he go, so he went, and he wasn't able to move quickly enough. And the family said, they were all despondent, of course. They said, well, we thought it was part of the fireworks. I think a lot of people thought it was part of the fireworks until you start hearing the shots, and they say 70 rounds were fired. That's just incredible. 70 rounds. All the guns all legally purchased. He had a rifle. Cremo had a rifle up top the roof, dropped it. And then get this, because he was able to get away, he blended in so well. He took off the dress. He was just, there's Bobby Cremo. The mayor of Highland Park said, I remember Bobby Cremo when I was the den mother of his Cub Scout troop. That's the kind of small community. If you live in a small community, 15, 17, 20,000 people. I lived in one. I mean, small. This is small town America. I told you yesterday about I wanted this place I used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area in the East Bay. They were having a Fourth of July parade, and I hadn't been to that one because we haven't lived there in 20 years. So I thought it might be fun to go there. And then this happened, and I'm thinking, oh, this is the thing about the 4th of July. If you flinched on the 4th of July, well, you're in good company. Because every time I hear a pop, pop, or a bang, bang, I flinch. And the thing is, we are normalizing these things, especially on the 4th, you normalize it. Because you're saying, oh, it's the 4th. Of course we normalize these things on the 4th. It's a bang, bang holiday. I don't know. I just am troubled by no one caught any of the signs, not even Bobby Cremo's relatives. Paul Cremo was on television today, WFLD in Chicago. Says, oh, nothing. I didn't see anything. Cremo was allowed to walk to his mom's house. They live nearby, the main drag there in Highland Park. Drive off with his car. And if it weren't for people who, the media was helpful here because the transparency, look for a car with, although when I saw it on one channel, they reported it as a Hyundai, but it turns out to be a Honda Fit, which is not a Hyundai. I wouldn't drive a Hyundai. No, it was a Honda Fit. I have some family members that had a Honda Fit. That was a good car. But now it's Bobby Cremo's getaway vehicle. He didn't get away. He did not get away, which I suppose is the plus. He was apprehended, and now he is said to be cooperating. We'll probably get some charges handed down in about a couple hours. But now we have 7 dead. We have 45 total, so more than 30, more than 35 plus who are injured. And I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what happened there. And this is happening in a town that is not supposed to have this sort of thing, right? I mean, I was looking at the demographics of Highland Park. Interesting. The American Community Survey 2022 said Highland Park, 90% white. 90% white. And I think 4% Asian. This is kind of Asian American community that we love to go. We have success. We're going to go there. I mean, this is the kind of community where you'll find whites and Asians. There's some Hispanics. I mean, they had about, I think Highland Park had about, wasn't sure. I saw a poverty rate listing for Highland Park. Of course, with the Asians, the successful, there was 12% who were living at the poverty level of the Asians. And of course, the other BIPOC communities, Latinos, I think were like 13% poverty level in Highland Park. Blacks were at 33%. That's just to show you the inequity, because the median income of Highland Park is something like $189,000 a year. $189,000. The median. That means half are above $189,000 and half are below. That is ridiculous. For a median income, are you kidding me? That's like more than that's like a 2-lawyer household kind of thing. Not a firefighter teacher household, not a teacher to teacher household. This is an affluent community, and people move there. This is the community that white flight made, right? You're not supposed to have this sort of thing. And it happened. I saw one headline in the paper, in the Washington Post, I think I saw it. If it happens in Highland Park, no one's safe, was the line. And in some ways, I think that is the idea most people have. Because we have a problem with gun violence in America, but where you are in the socioeconomic scheme of things, race, class, you experience it very differently. For the people in Akron, and you have the instance of Jalen Walker. I don't know when they're going to see justice. Maybe as more people see the body cam footage, maybe there will be a suit against the city. But for a young African American stopped on a routine traffic stop, unarmed, no record, shot dead, that's one gun experience in America. And the other one is the thing that's not supposed to happen in Highland Park, but it did yesterday. 7 people dead, more than 30 injured. And what do we blame this on? But proliferation of guns has, it plays a role in this. The guns that Bobby Cremo bought, he bought at least two rifles, AR-15 type, they called it. And then Jalen Walker, the reports say he had a gun, it was unloaded. But the fact that he had a gun feeds a suspicion on the part of police that, people have guns, we must be fearful of these people. And the cops are supposed to be the good guys. But when they fear that people have guns and they are basing it on an assumption that guns are out there, we're stopping someone, we got to be prepared. What kind of situation would it be if they didn't have that assumption? They didn't have to, because there was reasonable gun control around, so that the police could just stop someone, check the computer, see if there's any kind of violation, and then let that man go on his merry way. It's an harassment, but it's a little different from stopping someone. He flees, shots, the chase ensues, shots are fired, an innocent black man is found or is left dead, 60 gunshot wounds. So how we get out of this, I don't know. It seems that every time we have a situation like this, we're always talking about, let's do something. We saw what happened in the shootings in Buffalo. In fact, I don't know what's happened in the shootings in Buffalo. You don't hear about the people who were at Tops, that grocery store in Buffalo. You just don't. It's been about a month or so. You just don't hear about that case much. And Uvalde slowly drifting away. The police chief, he resigned from the city council. And, I heard a lot of people trying to mention those cases, the Highland Park folks saying, well, at least at Highland Park, police were transparent. We knew what was going on. There was communication. The community helped. The one person spotted the Bobby Cremo in his getaway car. but something has to happen. And I think it's fitting that this happens on the 4th of July because we're thinking about our freedoms. And maybe it's time to curtail some of those freedoms when it comes to guns and say, something's wrong when Americans are getting killed like this. I mean, we're at war in America over guns. And the numbers just keep going up. I mean, I go over the columns I've written about. I've written my column on the ALDEF blog, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, since 2010. The number of columns I've written on guns that involve Asian Americans who were victimized. It's incredible. Something has to be done. I was taken by the quote by the relative of the Mexican national who was shot, Mr. Toledo. One of his relatives said, this is 4th of July. We thought it was fireworks. So we're kind of like getting accustomed to hearing these things. Then I saw another doctor on television say what the gunfire from Bobby Crimo did to the victims whom he saw on the street dead. It was just, he said, this is what you see in war. This is what you see in combat, right? Because that's what an AR-15 or an AR-15 type weapon is for. It's for war. And they're killing machines. It's wherever the gun owner wants to bring a sense of war to. A supermarket, a school, a 4th of July parade. We need better controls, is what we need. Someone asked, they had an assault weapons ban, but that doesn't stop Crimo. But the mayor of Highland Park was saying, well, it expresses the values we have in our community. And I think this is where we have to get in touch with our values. What are our values? What are our values about guns? We can't just keep saying thoughts and prayers. We got to take some kind of action. Because the guns are real, the guns are there. And if we want to stop this kind of recklessness, this kind of horrifying gun show that is killing our citizens, killing our members of our community, we got to make sure that the gun laws, the assault weapons ban, has some kind of bite in these little local communities. Now in California, Attorney General Rob Bonta, Filipino American, has come out and I don't have the details here, but last week he came out in his newsletter saying the assault weapons ban has worked in California. It's effective in making sure that the proliferation of guns is tamped down as much as possible. That doesn't say it's impossible to get a gun. It's impossible to have things happen here in the state. But the assault weapons ban that exists, that the gun folks want to eliminate, has been effective. And maybe it could be a model, but we've got to change our attitudes about guns. I hope that it happened on July 4th. People are thinking about it. And that it happened in a town like Highland Park. People are thinking about it because we saw a little action after Uvalde. A little. Not much, but just a little bit. The fact that this could have been a community for a senator or a member of Congress. I mean, this is where they all live, right? I mean, they live in communities like Highland Park. Maybe we'll see some action now. I mean, some tougher action. Maybe it hits close to home. Maybe. So I was saying that there's only one place where these guns belong, and that's in war. And wouldn't you know, President Joe Biden today, after the 4th, after you heard the pop, pop, bang, bang, I couldn't take it. I kind of flinched. I was in a neighbor's backyard, and God, it was loud. And these are all the safe and sane ones, I think. Although some were, if they were elevated above a rooftop, that wasn't too safe or sane. But I saw some out there. Excuse me, I had a cough there. So anyway, Joe Biden awarded Medal of Honor to 2 Vietnam War soldiers from Hawaii today. And I just want to mention them. He awarded to 4 total. One of them was a Native American. And all these honors, Medal of Honor, they're all for different reasons, but I just was taken by what it means to win a Medal of Honor. So Biden honored the late, passed away in service, Staff Sergeant Edward N. Kaneshiro and Specialist 5 Dennis M. Fujii. They previously received the Distinguished Service Cross, but now they were selected for the Medal of Honor as the military reviews records of people who served who were overlooked for major awards due to bigotry. And so, I mean, it's like people see what these people did, and instead of saying, hey, that's great what you did, pat you on the back, they gave them some recognition, the Distinguished Service Cross, but it turns out they deserved more. So we have a little bit of racism here toward Asian American soldiers during the Vietnam War. And so I was listening to what Biden was saying about Staff Sergeant Edward N. Kaneshiro. And what he did was heroic on a number of levels, right? They were outnumbered. They had new troops coming up, but there was a trench, and there was a trench that had enemy machine guns. When you take it on yourself to take on that trench, you know, you got to, as Biden described it, Sergeant Kaneshiro had his M16 and he had 6 grenades. And he took out that trench. That's heroism. He took out the trench and he allowed for, you know, he saved the group of men he was with, plus others who were to come later, who, if he hadn't taken out the trench, would have been defeated easily. Staff Sergeant Edward Kaneshiro single-handedly did it. I guess when you single-handedly do something with 6 grenades and an M16 during the Vietnam War, and you're helping allied Vietnamese who are with you take down the Viet Cong, you deserve a little more than just the Distinguished Service Cross. You need the Medal of Honor. So a big salute to Staff Sergeant Edward N. Kaneshiro, who died. He died in service when he continued in Vietnam, March 6, 1967. So they remembered him posthumously. And then Biden also remembered Dennis Fujii, who got his medal for actions during a rescue operation in Laos and Vietnam from February 18th through the 22nd, 1971. And this is pretty heroic. His helicopter was forced to crash land while evacuating wounded South Vietnamese soldiers. He stayed behind to administer first aid, fought enemy soldiers until he was airlifted to safety days after. And he said he refused at first any help because it was too dangerous. So Specialist 5 Dennis Fujii is out there on his own, fighting off in Laos, the enemy, dealing with the wounded South Vietnamese. It's like he was a one-man band. Then later, airlifted to safety. And so that's heroism. If you ever wondered, what does a hero do? That's what a hero does. He stays, he finishes the job, he continues to fight on, he doesn't complain, and all he got was a Distinguished Service Cross until today, given the Medal of Honor, which is the highest military decoration you can get. I think it's so big you need a new uniform. I mean, and Fujii is still around. Kaneshiro died in service, but means something. Those medals mean something. If your family has, military service member, you know how important that is. I've got son-in-law in the military. It's important. And we need to understand what is valor, what is heroism. This is what people do when they're all alone and it's up to them and they take it on themselves to lead by example. Take out the trench. That's what Sergeant Edward Kaneshiro did. Stay behind, tend to the wounded, fight on against the enemy. That's what Dennis Fujii did. Vietnam. So congratulations to them. And once again, these men were all initially overlooked for the biggest award because of bigotry toward, hey, we're fighting against the same folks. We're fighting the same enemy. We're fighting the same enemy. And yet, we have to fight the racism within. The racism within the military, within our country. And there's some racism, in the gun violence experience that I've been talking about. There's some racism there. We're talking about different things. Like I said, the African American community knows what it's like to get the kind of gun violence in Highland Park Just look at Tops, look at Buffalo. That was an example. People going to the grocery store just to get a little something for lunch, for dinner. They weren't expecting to get gunned down. And Gendron, the name of the perp there, very similar. Very similar to Bobby Cremo. In a way. You know, these young guys, early 20s, they leave a social media footprint. They have some, you know, they have some issues. Most of them probably could be addressed if they got some mental health attention. But that's what happens when you're police, when you send police to situations when you really need people who have a far broader ability to scope out what's wrong, what's potentially criminal. But we got these examples now. More examples to look at. More examples to try just to do better. We got to do better as a country. All right, so that's our show for today. I mean, I was going to talk about a couple other things on the abortion front. I'll say that for another day. I was going to talk about Bill Baird and contraception. I'll do that another day. Also, and I'll talk about my friend Peter Loranges, because I went to Boston, and someone asked me, that's where I met Peter and a bunch of other folks that I knew 45 years ago. Actually, I didn't know Peter. That was a bad thing. I should have known him 45 years ago. But whenever you discover your connection, that's a good thing. But then people were saying, oh, well, what's Boston like now? And then I said, you know, Boston is an interesting place because they have an Asian American who's mayor, Michelle Wu. First time, right? It's been nothing but white men as mayors of that city. But she did a tweet this weekend that called out the white supremacists who traipsed down Boston. And this is the thing that she faces. This is Boston 2022. It's not a whole lot different than the Boston I saw 45 years ago, really. Except maybe things are more subtle. The racism more subtle, so we don't see it. We think it's not there, or we're better able to ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it. All right, so we'll end our show here today. I like to end it like within 45 minutes or so, because there'll be more tomorrow. You know there'll be more tomorrow. There's always something to react to tomorrow. In the meantime, regular listeners of our show, well, you know, you can check out our past shows on amok.com. You can check out our social media, emilguillermo.media on Facebook, also on YouTube. I am a talk show host who, instead of buying a radio station, I do these things. I talk about the news. Maybe as my way to try to do something. So if you've caught us today on the repeats or wherever live, tell your friends about the show. Regular listeners know that at this point, I usually do a form of loving kindness meditation. And I'll tell you, if it weren't for loving kindness meditation, I don't think I'd be able to do this. I think I'd be too angry, like I was when I did my talk show in Washington, D.C., or when I did it in Sacramento or San Francisco. I was angry about things. I know in Washington, D.C., I was angry. But now I'm trying to be more equanimous, as they say. I'm trying to see things from the heart and trying to see how maybe we can get that sense of oneness so that we can get to an answer and solve some problems. Because if we don't do that, we don't solve the problems that end up being on the news. And then we scratch our heads and say, well, for how long? For how long? So I like to end the show with a little loving kindness meditation. You know, where you think about someone who is a benefactor, who's helped you, a teacher. Yeah. And then think about someone who, you absolutely hate. Not hate, but you don't really like, you maybe avoid them. And the next person, think of someone who you love. Just, you like to love, or in that spectrum, more positive than one you hate. And the fourth category, think of all the people you bump into in your life. Maybe added a few companion animals. And after each group, or after each image, after each person, silently say to them, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be safe. And may you live with ease. Yeah, after each one. After each of those images or groups, see them silently say that little chant. It's actually more like a prayer, I guess. But really wish it for them. And see if that doesn't help you feel a little better about things. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Hey, back again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific, live, right here. Check out the replays on amok.com or on Facebook. Till then, mahal, kita.